Hello and welcome to
And read another chapter.
That was weird. That was like twinkle, twinkle. Hello and welcome to
And read another chapter.
And we have November's wrap up here for you today. Yes. Let's get started. We are a mother-daughter team running this channel. We like to read a lot of books, and we thought it would be really fun to kind of show a generation perspective on the different books we're reading. And so let's get into November's reads.
You keep saying October.
I know.
Okay.
Well, I put my thoughts together.
I will do this one. I read Apart Femininity.
Self-help, a devotional.
It's like a self-help, and
Christian living.
yeah, Christian living, self-help, how you should act in a Christian, womanly, godly way. That sounded weird, but whatever.
It's more about the heart of modesty, femininity, rather than the outward look of it.
Yeah. And I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. Each chapter is on something different. I did highlight a few things, which people would be. So that was the first one I read.
I did a review for a book that I'll leave linked down below, and it's written in ink, and it is part of the Mosaic Club, and it was written by Sarah Davis. And this book has a mother and her 2 or 3 kids basically reeling from the loss of their father's death. And it's death by suicide, but other things are now coming to light, and it's just this mother trying to grapple with everything and what's going on. Then there is a subplot of an extremist group taking out abortion clinics, and just how the two are connected and interwoven. And I gave this book 4 stars, which is high praise indeed. There is some grammar errors that I noted, but I also noted that as I got more into the book, I didn't notice it as much, and which could be that they either didn't have as many, or that the book was so good that I didn't catch it. So that was my first read for November, and it was a 4-star read. So that was a nice kind of start to the month.
You hate me. I read all 3 of the Christine Todd The Married Years. Oh my word. Me and my friend would not stop talking about them. They were amazing. And she's just like, she drove me crazy. Pretty much. This is pretty much all that happens. Not all that happens in married life, but the struggle. Shh.
I hope not.
This one I think was so they've been married for almost 2 years, and they figure out that Todd is getting fired from his job as a youth pastor, and he loves that job so much, and it really took a toll on him, and how because of this they could no longer live in their apartment. So it's just, this one was, they were going through a hard time, and they had to figure out how to, as a married couple, how to go through it. The second book was when Christy's best friend Katie is getting married in Africa, and so they go to Africa for their wedding, as well as Todd's dad. He's getting remarried, and so they go to Africa, and they are still struggling with different things. So the dad helps out a lot, and while they're in Africa, they are trying to figure out stuff back home. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with their apartment, what they're going to do beyond that. The third one was my all-time favorite. Actually,
Gee, really?
it was the second and the third. This is when it's Christy's 26th birthday, and she and Todd have been married for like 3-4 years, and they haven't had a baby. And so that was what Christy had wished for, was to have a baby. And at the end, oh my word, the ending. Oh, I about cried. I did cry, actually.
I was gonna say, you kind of came.
But this is when they move into a new house, but are renting it from her aunt. And this is when Job finds a new Todd. Todd finds a new job, and things start to go uphill. And the ending is when she finds out she's pregnant. And it's so sweet. Okay, your turn. I'm sorry.
I don't remember if I've shared this one before. This is An Unlikely Proposal by Tony Shiloh. This is a love-inspired book. This is my first Tony Shiloh. You are riding a horse and you're bouncing the camera up and down. So please be careful. Let's not do that. Thank you. This tells a story of a man with 2 little girls who has lost his wife, and his best friend, I don't remember, Trinity, yes. His best friend Trinity, Johnny
Gilstar,
has recently lost her job, and what that looks like is she's going to lose her health benefits, and she is diabetic. And so this is huge if you know anything about the diabetic community and their costs. And so he proposes a marriage of convenience, and they've been best friends this whole time. And it's kind of this story more about her trying to become a mother to these children, trying to figure out what the relationship she has now with her best friend, how does it cross from best friend to married. That boundary shouldn't be crossed. There was a mutual agreement, and love happens. I gave this 3 stars. I had this comment on my Goodreads that if you took Fireproof and meshed it with Love Comes Softly, you get this book. And I think that's actually the best way I can describe it. I'm trying to find more Christian Black authors that aren't billionaire romances, and it's really hard to find it. I have another Tony Shiloh book in my possession that I plan on reading this year, and so I think I'm really going to like this author. I've been following her on social media, and I really like the things that she is sharing, and so yeah, I can't wait to read more from this author. With that face, is this something you want to read?
How did you know?
Okay.
Reading my mind. Okay, I read King of the Wind, and honestly, this is not that great of a book. I gave it 2 stars, and I think it was because it was more on the Arabian Egyptian side, so I didn't get half of what they were saying. I didn't get half of what was happening. It was really hard to understand. But all I really got was Agba is this boy who owns a, what is it?
Blackstone.
A Godolphin Arabian horse.
Oh, duh.
And their master is the Sultan, and he's pretty cruel, and then they have to go to France to go see the king about this horse, and then they go to England, and I don't remember why. It was just a really, really confusing book. I didn't get anything that was happening, so I gave it 2 stars because I couldn't process everything.
I have 2 more books that I did for a review that I'm going to talk about. One is A New Hope for Christmas, and this one is written by Erin Stevenson, and both of them are recovering from the loss of a spouse. one of our main characters is kind of going. There's two different perspectives with this loss of spouse. One turns away from God, and one leans in on God. The one that leans in on God lost her husband and daughter in a horrible car accident, and the our male protagonist lost his wife, I think due to cancer. It was a slowly die, or no, it might have been an aneurysm type of thing. I don't remember. I'm getting it now confused with a few other books. John, we're gonna need to wait a minute. I'm getting it confused with a few other books. There's been a lot of spousal death books lately in my reading. There is a lot of
Oh no.
there is a lot of feel-good elements in this book, and I do have a pet peeve. This kind of came out with God's Not Dead. I actually have a really huge pet peeve with that movie, and it's not a common belief, it's not a common thought, it's not a common whatever the word is. But one of the things that I don't like about movies like God's Not Dead, stories like this, is that Christian authors like to assume or like to put out that the reason people don't believe in God is that he's done something personal to them, and that they just have a beef with him. Whereas in my experience, a lot of people that choose not to believe in God have a completely different thing. They choose to believe in science. They choose to believe in other things. It generally doesn't have anything to do with, well, I didn't get my own way, so I'm going to throw a temper tantrum, which is how they are portraying it. And I get sick and tired of that portrayal of people who have chosen not to believe in God within Christian works. It just gets old. And it's not always accurate. Johnny, please calm down. Okay, I did do one more book. And again, both of these, any book reviews that I have done for the blog is going to be linked down below so you can check it out. The giveaways that are usually associated with it are over at this point. So check on my blog, subscribe to it, so if you want to kind of see when I post, and then you can check out when there's giveaways and whatnot. So this next one is part of the Ever After series, and these are really, really fun. This is my second Ever After that I have read. The first one was by April Heyman, When Pilot Falls, and I think I did a review for you guys on that, but basically I really liked that one. I just didn't like our main character in that one. This one is Murder at the Empire. Now when Pilot Falls, it kind of takes, it's all centered around the 1920s, and so when Pilot Falls, it has to do with the stunt pilots, and then there's like a mystery within it. Murder at the Empire goes into the organist that played during moving pictures, which you would have gotten a little glimpse of that last night with When Calls a Heart. So Dr. Shepard plays the piano while the moving picture is rolling. So this was the girl's job, and it's kind of who murdered one of the cleaning ladies and why, and where did this one guy disappear to. And so that was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy that. I liked our characters, and these aren't short stories, but they are shorter stories, or maybe they are short, I don't know. They're not novellas, that's what I'm trying to say. They're not novellas, but they are shorter stories, and they are done well enough that I felt like I was getting enough information, and I could kind of see where it was going. And to be honest, with this one, I had a little bit of a stump going on for a bit, and I really enjoyed that. So that was the other two books that I have read this in November for book reviews.
I read, because it was November, I read Molly's Pilgrim. I read this one every year for Thanksgiving. And she was I think it was
Immigrant.
She was a Russian refugee refugee, sorry, and has moved to America, but her class is doing a study on the Pilgrims, and so Molly goes to her mother, and her mother said she was a pilgrim, but these girls at school are saying that this mother is not a pilgrim, and
They're just bullies.
Yeah, she just gets made fun of a lot, but it's really good.
All right. The next one I finished was The Blue Castle by Ella Montgomery. I loved this one growing up, and as a reread, I was like, I don't remember half of this book. What I remembered about this book doesn't happen until like the last third, a little over a third. The last, I don't know, what's between a half and a third, whatever it is. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't remember the biggest portion of this. This is about a girl who is 30 years old, Valency, who is 30 years old, and basically has lived a very sheltered life. She is considered weak. Her parents pamper her. She's made fun of as being a spinster and just not treated well, and she just hates her life. And she goes to a doctor, gets a diagnosis, and then realizes she just wants to start living, and it's kind of the story of how she does that. And I did enjoy it. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. It just wasn't as amazing as I remember it from my youth. There's a lot about... I just didn't feel like we got enough of the hero story. I felt like I was really missing out on who he was, and that kind of bothered me. I just wanted a little bit more as to the character of who Valency obviously ends up with, because he's the hero of our story. So I still give it 3 stars. 3 stars. I still liked it. I still will probably read it in a few years and then just kind of reflect on it some more, but as of right now, I was like, oh, this wasn't as great as I thought it was.
I read Gwen Calls the Heart. I was trying to get to book 3 that month, but I didn't. But I'm reading this, and I've been going through the TV series, and, well, I have already gone through the TV series, but oh my word, it made me mad.
I told you.
I told you. I got no words.
I told you. It is nothing like the book.
But I like how the book has a little bit more details, I guess. Depth, yeah, details. So Elizabeth, growing up in the East, moves to the West to become a teacher, to stay with her brother and his family, and as she is teaching, she falls in love with a Mountie.
Who is not Jack.
I was going to say, who is Jack? Not Jack. His name is Win. I actually like the name Win a little bit better, though. She falls in love with Win, and then she's going back to the East. Anyway, she's deciding to go back to the East, but Win says he loves her, and so she stays. Ooh. I'll never read that one. Janetto, because it's like the best author ever. So, 5 stars to this.
Well, I only have 2 more.
I have 1 more, and it's a thick.
And, we both have like middle grade type stuff. I read Long Way from Chicago and A Year Down Yonder. Long Way from Chicago is the first one, and each chapter tells a different summer that these 2 siblings have with their eccentric grandmother. And it is a hilarious ride. It is, I think, during the Great Depression or just before the Great Depression. And this grandma is hilarious. It is so much fun to read. Just some of the things that they get into. I loved this. Richard Peck does a really brilliant job of taking kind of a look at a time period between 2 types of classes: city folk, country folk, rich, poor, whatever. He tends to do that, and because he did that in Fair Weather, And that was the first Richard Peck book I read, which was about Chicago's World Fair. These country folks kind of come to the city to see it. And in this case, we have city kids coming to live in the country with their eccentric grandfather. And it has a lot of Secondhand Lions feels to it, where they're just scared of their own shadow, scared of what's going to happen, and then they just kind of build up confidence. And then in A Year Down Yonder, which is the companion, you have more of the girl perspective now that her brother is off fighting the war, and she comes to live with grandma, and it's just the eccentricities continue. She kind of has a coming of age story happening in here. There's something else big that happens here, and I don't remember what it is. But I gave each of these 4 stars. That's right. Richard Peck also likes to throw, for conservative readers out there, Richard Peck likes to throw a little scandal scene in his books. But they're not, they're cleaned. But they are like a little, what? So there is something to be aware of in that. I know not every parent would like their children to read that from a conservative Christian homeschool perspective. I wouldn't care. Personally, they're pretty funny. They're pretty cleaned up. But anyway.
Yep. Okay. I read the second book to the Keeper of the Lost Cities, Exile, and I am just loving them more and more as I go. And a new pen pal I have, it was funny because like a week after I read the first one, she was like, have you ever read these? And I was like, that is so funny, I've just read them. And we've never stopped talking about them. But, this is like this, it's almost like Harry Potter in a way, but I think this is like second year. This is in her second year in the Keeper of the Lost Cities. And Sophie finds the very first female alicorn in this.
Alicorn?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she names it Sylvanie. And it's funny because one of the guys in this book calls it Glitter Butt. It's kind of funny.
That actually sounds a little funny.
Because, well, you'd have to read it to understand. Disclaimer here.
Disclaimer.
When the alicorn goes to the bathroom, it's
It poops
its
out.
poop is glitter, and so that's why he's Glitter Butt. Anyway, and so that's his nickname for it. But then she realizes that there are people going after this alicorn because it is so. Oh man, I had that word on my tongue. What is it?
Rare.
So rare, thank you. So rare, and her kidnappers are still out there as well. So she is running from them, and along with that,
Don't give any
tragedy.
spoilers.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, more proof of why glitter is evil, because it's just alicorn poop. This is why glitter is so evil. Okay, that's going to be it for our November wrap-up, and we thank you so much for watching this video. But until next time, have another cup of coffee
Or tea.
and read another chapter.